This is Joe's Corner 76. I discuss the human condition in all its phases. In order to change it, you have to be involved. Have you wondered how to deal with angry people? Some of the things we all hear every week. When my spouse starts to get upset, it quickly escalates and it can spin out of control. What can you do? A coworker flies off the handle at the slightest problem. It's scary. He could get himself fired or hurt someone. My roommate is always ranting and raving about something. It can get you riled up. What can you do with a hot-headed person? Chances are that all of us could say something similar. That's because we all have at least one angry, explosive person in our lives. And there could be more. Maybe we don't have angry people among our circle of family, friends, and co-workers, but we certainly encounter them on the road, in the grocery store, or in the neighborhood. Do you think is the best way to deal with angry people whose anger alarms or frightens you? We'll explore specific responses you can take. But first, let's see how this anger develops. Anger is a normal human reaction. Some people misunderstand the role of anger in their lives, relationships, and interactions with others. They believe that it's wrong to be angry and that this emotion should be avoided or suppressed. But anger is a normal part of the human condition and a helpful response to dangerous or unjust conditions. If anger is properly channeled, anger can move people towards noble goals, empowering them to stand up for what's morally right and protect them from threats to their safety. Anger can be constructive or destructive depending on how it's handled. Remember, anger itself is not the problem, but how you express it can be a huge problem. Not managing angry feelings and not being able to control heated emotions can quickly become destructive rather than constructive. Psychologists sometimes talk about clean anger versus dirty anger. Clean anger means that we find responsible, productive, and proper ways to express strong emotions. We behave reasonably, rationally, and safely. We don't allow supercharged feelings that control. The opposite is dirty anger. It's negative, unhealthy, counterproductive, express changes that can include shouting, making threats, and damaging property. Beware of flamethrowers. These are people who can't or won't manage their blazing emotions. These people aim their anger at a specific person or no one in particular. They have a history and a pattern of unpredictable rants that could also involve physical actions such as throwing objects or pounding on a wall. Non-harmful or non-offensive can cause a flamethrower's hair-trigger temper, making them spew out a caustic barrage. While most of us give in to occasional venting, anger becomes the flamethrower's default setting. Filters always point towards life as being unfair and unreasonable. When very angry, this person feels vindicated, powerful, and in control. Treating others as verbal punching bags is a classic sign of toxic behavior. Healthy ways to respond when an angry eruption occurs. Although anger management for many people is a strain on mental health, there are several strategies for diffusing a confrontational situation. First, keep yourself safe. If you suddenly realize that you are holding a ticking time bomb that's about to explode, the wisest move would be to drop it and run. It's funny though, when it comes to dealing with an explosive person, many of us ignore the best defense we have. A safe distance. Remain in harm's way on the angry person's terms long past when it's productive or sensible to do so. Protecting yourself is paramount. In extreme cases where physical violence is possible, you should leave immediately if you feel threatened in any way. Take a time out. Even if you aren't subject to physical harm, there's no need to submit and take an angry or emotional beating either. Knowing when the heat of anger has overwhelmed any chance of reason or compromise. Take a break for the sake of avoiding further escalation. This timeout can last minutes, days, or longer. You are allowed to maintain a healthy space for as long as you are exposed to that flamethrower's unmanaged anger. Use this time to organize your thoughts so you can have constructive discussions later. Resist the urge to fight fire with fire. It's one thing, if there's one thing that acts like gasoline poured on someone else's out of control anger, it's more anger. You do have the right to be safe, set boundaries, and to push back when necessary. Getting angry yourself is the path least likely to lead to peace. Remember that anger by itself is only an emotion. It has no power to force you to respond one way or another. Conditioned through experience to treat someone's anger like we just heard the bell at a boxing match and we should come out swinging. It doesn't have to be this way. We can choose to see that anger is contagious only if we let it be. Stay calm. Do not allow sparks from someone else's anger to ignite your own. Lower the temperature. When someone begins to feel angry, they aren't thinking with their higher brain. They're operating from their lizard brain, the area of their brain responsible for fight or flight, response, and fear. The lizard brain is part of the brain that's primal and non-rational. Give the angry person time and space to regain their composure. The calmer you remain, the quicker the angry person will calm down. Don't try to point out irrational behavior while the person is behaving irrationally. Attempting to control or confront someone who is throwing a temper tantrum, it's like waving a red flag in front of a bull. It's only going to increase their heated emotions. Angry people often see themselves as standing up to an unfair world. So if you're likely to feel attacked, if you try to point out their unreasonable behavior, watch it. Set and hold your boundaries. Setting up a boundary is like drawing a line in the sand and saying, you're not allowed to cross, or building a fence around your property and putting a sign that says, no trespassing. You have emotional strength and clear conviction to know exactly what kind of toxic behavior you're willing to put up with and what you aren't. For example, you might decide if someone starts shouting at you and calling you names. That's your clue to leave the scenes. If the angry person insults others you care about, don't participate and calmly say so. Use calming words and tone. It's hard to argue with the wisdom found in the Old Testament proverb. A gentle word turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. In the heat of the moment, speak softly and avoid provocative words. Hold up your hands in a gesture of disengagement and say something like, I can see that you're upset and I do want to hear you out. Let's just take a deep breath and cool off. Address anger and conflict when the anger has cooled off. Once the person has calmed down, you can pursue a rational conversation. You can have a discussion here if the person has calmed down sufficiently. If tension is still high, arrange a time to talk to the person next day or even a week later. A little time and space might provide a different view of the triggering event. Express your own wishes while speaking honestly and respectfully. It's important to consider the other person's needs and feelings. Show you respect them. This way of approaching anger doesn't put any conditions on the angry person's behavior. It just opens the door for productive solutions that the heat has passed. Isn't there enough anger in the world already? You have a chance to reduce some of it. You can hear me on Spotify and YouTube at Joe's Corner 76. Subscribe to my YouTube channel at Joe's Corner 76. If you enjoyed this podcast, tell your friends. There are many more that you can hear on Spotify and YouTube at Joe's Corner 76.